Okay, let's get this over with. You want to be a YouTuber and thought the channel name The Underqualified Guy was a good choice. Well, perfect to me. You have the same decision-making ability that I do. Abysmal. Now, I know I said it was underqualified. That's not entirely true. Let's take a look at my stat sheet. First off, my health-wise, I can probably outlive a fly at this point. I had an apple today. I'm doing quite well for myself. Next up is going to be my strength. I could probably outbox a gerbil with a 50-50% odds. I'm thinking I'm 1 star on that. Intelligence-wise, I'm smarter than your average 2-year-old. That's about it. As far as my sleep schedule goes, I have had probably 2 hours of sleep in the last 3 weeks and doing okay there. Lastly is my technology and social media usage. I basically live on the internet. But I feel like there is something missing from this sheet, and that is finances. I'm a college student and I'm in the negatives there too. So, in conclusion, I'm slightly healthy, slightly strong, slightly intelligent, sleep deprived, techie, with low finances, and I'm broke. In conclusion, I'm a perfect YouTuber candidate. I'm actually just kidding, I'm a programmer. So we're going to fire up my JavaScript web browser here, and we're going to add 2 arrays together. And find out it's an empty string. Okay, fantastic. Let's fire up instead my Unity project that I spent a little bit of time on. I'm hoping to hit some arrow keys and get something going. Oh! That's fun. How about my Java? Oh. How about my Python? Okay, so not the greatest, but I can work on it tomorrow. Alright, so let's fire up my notepad document, and we'll add that to the to-do list for future me. Future me is going to be a little busy, so we're going to make and better programming, or whatever, program better. So, now that my qualifications are established, what was I doing again? Oh yeah, cue the intro. What do you mean there's no intro? I have to make one? I'll do that tomorrow too. Leave that to future me. Future me is a good, hard-working individual. Oh, future me is gonna hate me. Anyways, so, how to become a YouTuber by a non-YouTuber. Just gonna quickly fire up some graphs in PowerPoint, and we're gonna be able to calculate together the exact point in space and time where the audience at home realizes I have no idea what I'm doing. Thankfully, I don't have to. Because we can learn from the biggest egos, I mean the best people in the industry, whose ranks I hope to join one day. 'Cause, ego. I'll take some notes and steal. Larry, get that off the script! Borrow these ideas for future videos. Alright, so let's fire up my Word document that I spent my entire allowance on. We're gonna indoctrinate you guys into thinking I actually know what I'm doing. And if not, then we're gonna lower your standards a fair bit. So, how to be a YouTuber, get that nice font size going. Alrighty, since we're all set up, let's get this over with. So,
fuck you, DaVinci Robotics!
Off to a great start. But we'll start slightly simpler for you.
One last time, as per the contract, I must advise you to acquire products.
Okay, so if I can get you guys to shill needlessly for products like that, just add some distortion to it and suddenly my charisma goes up +5. We'll seriously have to make an avatar though, so we'll animate said avatar. I don't have animation set up yet. Cry more. And Larry, that's not supposed to be in there. Alright, on to the next one, closer to my field, programming.
Bad boy and whooped up pup. Let's check in on our computer. Oh, we did it.
Yeah, don't even. The code never works like that. It'll be at least 60 attempts to get that far. Although, if I could code an AI and teach you guys something out of it, I'm not opposed to the idea.
Is it just me, or is that Danny box looking kinda thick?
I'm down to make a game at some point. I told you, man, it's just the distortion. +5 charisma if you scream it, too.
Pesky details with scale arise, like for starters, just how much 100,000 dominoes is.
Got it. Large scale impresses the ladies.
100 microliters of silicon oil I'm gonna attempt to drop it onto this bath of liquid nitrogen.
But the small projects impress everyone, and it's more wholesome, and it gets people to shill quicker. Also should probably work on acquiring some intelligence so I can teach you things. Sorry, Normal.
Like the right entrepreneurial thing to do. Those kind of books read much differently.
Oh, you know, your boy's writing a dating guidebook. Let's go. All right, so far so good though. What else is out there? Boys, I think we picked the wrong career path. Like, let's be honest here. You can make money doing that. Switch to streaming.
Compared to something like Coco that just knocks everything out of the park in its final act, this one kinda falters a bit in that part. I guess we'll get into spoilers here.
Spoiler alert, this is gonna be a terrible video, but we'll make a movie review at some point. Told ya. With distortion, +5 charisma. Jeez, that's actually really good. After Effects for the win!
Anyway, another thing, your boy got #2 in the official chart. But
Prepare for your ears to bleed.
Podcast of this magnitude. You know what I'm saying? I mean.
Oh, forget music. Getting paid to talk for 2 hours?
The merch room! That's much better! Look at this JoJo merch room! Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with it, everybody!
Domino's Pizza is an E tier.
Let's take all those complex historic and cultural issues and just ignore them.
Pull a hook, and then go to it. How you do that jam thing, it's beyond me.
What's up, you beautiful bastards? Welcome back.
Yesterday, I asked you, what are some red flags?
And again, pole, tree, whoa.
A severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
Welcome to the house, everybody!
Pokemon!
Dance, potato boy, dance!
These are my notes, and I am regretting dropping out of college. I don't even know where to start with this, but my ego won't inflate itself, and I need an excuse for my loneliness. So let's break this down. And you thought an underqualified guy would teach you something useful. So, it is now my mission to lower your expectations a lot. Alright, so we'll fire up my totally professional PowerPoint software, add a black theme to it, and then we'll copy paste my notes. This is glorious. I mean, look at this. Just feel the knowledge get indoctrinated into your skull. Okay, you want me to actually try? Okay, 3 categories mainly. First off, we have personality. Second off, we have some content. Anyways, and then third off, gonna be finances. Don't worry, it's gonna make sense later. It's sort of a catch-all category. So, personality. It's the thing that gets people to like you for you. First off is humor.
Dance, potato boy!
Typically, if you don't have a personality, you can fake it by make people giggle. They get so focused on their giggling, they forget about the fact that you lack any other interesting qualities. Next up, ambitions. Basically, it's the reason you're doing everything. Mine is because I'm a wholesome, charitable person and care about everyone else. Next up, opinions.
This one kinda falters a bit in that part.
If you do any sort of commentary, any sort of talking, people like to hear things they agree with. So if you spout your opinions, you will attract people who agree with you. Next up, communication skills.
Acquire products.
If you can talk to people more than you talk to yourself in your own shower, then you're doing successful. Or you have the likelihood of success when it comes to personality. Alright, so next up is quirks. Quirks sort of fall under the random intermittent tics.
Looking kinda thick!
Or mannerisms.
Pokemon!
That pop up from time to time. And then what happens is these tics and mannerisms start to fill up and start to give a better illustration of what the person actually acts like. So next up is the content side. So I'm going to start off with certain styles of content that'll help. and then I'm going to start with the actual rules of content that you have to follow or you should follow in order to achieve success. So, for starters, your content can be trendy.
E tier.
It's characterized by a very quick uptake in views, but also a very sharp decline. This content does not typically last all that well on a further viewing a couple years down the line, but it does give a big strong influx of views on the offset. Which is of course in contrast to timeless content. So timeless content can be viewed any point in time until of course Elon Musk's Neuralink comes in and then human existence becomes obsolete. But with the current way things are, timeless content can be viewed at any point, at any time in history, and it is still entertaining because it doesn't rely on the memes, the trends of the era that come and go as they please. Alrighty, so next up is collaborative content.
Well, surely not. Will.
Is to revoke the censorship of Wilbur Soot and Tommy Innit.
It basically functions on a simple principle. If you have one person yelling at a microphone, it's pretty funny. If you have more than one person yelling at a microphone, it's slightly more funny, more often than not, but also it allows the internet to fulfill its ceaseless urge to ship people romantically for no reason at all, other than to make everyone involved uncomfortable. Which I totally respect, because if we aren't doing stuff miserably, we aren't doing them correctly. So, transitioning off of content styles, we're now going to start getting into some of the rules I'd recommend people following in order to indoctrinate people as an audience. The big recommendation is your content should be consistent with your personality. For that, we're going to use a case study of this little guy, not so little, I don't actually know his height, Saikuno. Extremely consistent with his character. He doesn't ever really shift. There's a little bit of a character arc there. He's gaining more confidence as he goes on, which is amazing. But beyond that, he's extremely constant. You watch one video, you watch one video 2 years later, you'll find the same thing. Or the same guy doing it. Next up, we gotta have some highlight moments in our channel, right? These are the moments that define a channel. When people ask, what did you do? They will say, oh, you started your own restaurant. You boxed for a living. You made a running joke about penguins. It doesn't really matter what the highlight moment is. It's just that you have some that matters. It allows people to have a concise, clear view of what your channel is and is going to be in the future. Trust me, it works. It just works.
And again, it just works.
Call me Bethesda. Now, granted, I have about the same quality of content as Bethesda's recent stuff, but it works.
And again, it just works.
So when I said finances were kind of a catch-all term, this is sort of what I meant. First off, you have lifestyle.
Welcome to the house, everybody!
Do you live richly? Do you live minimalistically? It doesn't really matter how you live, it's just that the people want to know this stuff. And this is where it falls under the content category 100% as well. But in terms of finances, the lifestyle that a lot of people aspire to, especially in Hollywood and a lot of these big influencers, requires a lot of financial gain. And it often involves, well, flexing. If you own a Lambo, you typically are going to show off that Lambo, mainly for tax reasons, but we don't need to get involved in that, and that's not financial advice. Please don't sue. I am a broke college student. But if you have a morning routine you follow, people want to know that. House tours fall under this category as well. If you have anyone the internet can ship you with, they will eat that up. Because they're sickos. But that's sort of a more intimate aspect. Where the real finances come into play is in scale of the project.
And again, hole, tree.
If you're going to plant 20 million trees, it's not going to require 20 million quarters. It's going to require a little bit more money than that.
Pesky details with scale arise, like for starters, just how much 100,000 dominoes is.
For example, of this video by Mark Rober here, I actually calculated for no reason other than it took me 5 minutes to do. 100,000 dominoes at $39.99 on Amazon, that's approximately $4,000, let alone the actual robot itself. It costs money to do so. How do you acquire that money? I cannot speak. Merchandise.
I'm obsessed with it, everybody.
I still don't know how she gets that much pink. If you can convince people to acquire products, you can actually get some extra revenue flowing in, which is huge because it allows you to have the scale of projects and focus more on the personality and allows you to make any type of content you want. Okay, now let me level with you for a second here and be a little bit honest. I got lazy. One of the slides got deleted and I could not be bothered one iota to give you them separate. So the next two items are going to be joined together even though they're two completely different items. First up is going to be ego, and then the second off is going to be the likelihood of you complaining about demonetization, because we can't not talk about that in a YouTube video. Starting off with ego since it's first on the list, as you start to gain influence in any kind of entertainment medium period, or any kind of medium period, it starts to reveal the real you or the influences around you. Not saying you can't change, just saying that's how it's going to be. As you gain power, especially with the entertainment industry, because you can gain power so quickly, undeservingly, it can lead you to having an ego or flaunting the ego you already have. If that happens, it can lead to all sorts of things. Scandals, treating other people as if they're beneath you, general problems, treating people disrespectfully, typically involving the treatment of other people or things around you. It is not a good look, and it's probably the biggest hurdle we have as entertainers trying to navigate in that industry. Speaking of the industry would be a whole lot nicer if it didn't try to shoot itself and us in the foot every occasion. Hence comes demonetization. I would describe it to you, but I believe this animation gives you a perfectly thorough and important outlook on what demonetization is.
Kill him!
I think you get the point. As you progress as a YouTuber, the likelihood of you turning it into a full-time income or an important aspect of your income increases, for obvious reasons. The problem with that is when demonetization happens, not only does it cut your revenue, which is a strike in its own aspect, but it also deranks your video in its search algorithms. As a programmer, I could try and give you hundreds of theories that will fruitlessly lead to nothing. Most common of which is that YouTube is secretly run by a literal gerbil, but that's what we know. We know it deranks your video to some extent. Problem with that is that if you rely on YouTube for your main source of income, through no fault of your own, it can get taken away from you at a moment's notice. That's not to say anything of the strike system itself. This is where supplemental sources like sponsorships and merchandise come into play, and it becomes a huge aspect of it. Granted, I have seen a fair few YouTubers complain that they're being demonetized, and that's the reason for their dying channels. It's not entirely true all the time, but it does happen. And that's the end of the PowerPoint. So where does that leave me, the guy in way over his head? What am I gonna do? Well, I can guarantee that future me at some point will teach you something completely irrelevant and unuseful in the future climate. If you follow this chart, I can probably guarantee myself a 10%, minus 10% chance of success. But if you want to follow along at home, just remember, with zero talent and an inferiority complex, you too can look like me. I'm not even gonna dignify that with a joke. Cue the outro. What do you mean there's no outro? Okay. I'll leave that also to future me, so you'll see a little bit of future me in the future. Until then, deuces.